Ancient rulers once wielded a secret weapon far greater than any army. It was a philosophy of unshakable calm, forged in shipwrecks and slave markets, and tested on the very edge of empire. Tonight, you will discover the timeless rituals of the Stoic philosopher kings and learn to build your own fortress of peace for deeper sleep and a resilient mind. How did an emperor find serenity while surrounded by war? What wisdom can a man in chains teach us about true freedom? These mysteries have echoed for 2,000 years. What does unbreakable inner strength look like to you? Athens in the year 300 before the Common Era was a city of noise and wonder. The air in the agora, the great marketplace, hummed with the voices of philosophers arguing, merchants haggling, and citizens debating the fate of the world. It was the center of the known universe for ideas, and into this chaotic symphony of human thought walked a man who had lost everything. His name was Zeno of Citium, a merchant from a distant island. His wealth, his entire future, had been packed into the hold of a single ship, a fortune in rare purple dye, the color of kings. Then the storm came. The waves did not negotiate. They simply took, swallowing his ship and his old life off the rocky coast of Attica. Washed ashore with nothing but the tunic on his back, Zeno was a broken man in the world's greatest city. He wandered adrift in a different way until the quiet of a bookseller's stall called to him. There he encountered the words of Socrates, spoken through the pages written by Xenophon. A spark ignited in the ruins of his fortune. He realized the shipwreck had not taken what mattered most. It had, in fact, given him a brutal and perfect freedom. Stripped of all external props, he was forced to ask what, if anything, remained of value within himself. This was the moment Stoicism was born, not in a lecture hall, but in the quiet aftermath of total loss. Zeno began to teach his insights not from a privileged academy, but from a public colonnade known as the Stoa Poikile, the painted porch. It was a humble, open-air structure where anyone, rich or poor, slave or free, could stop and listen. His message was a revolution in plain sight. He proposed that our true good, our eudaimonia or flourishing, could never be found in the chaotic world outside us, in the purple dye or the ship that carries it. It could only be built within, through the cultivation of virtue, of wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance. Everything else, all the things we chase and fear, from wealth to poverty, from fame to disgrace, he classed as indifferent. They are not good or bad in themselves. They are merely the material our virtue works upon. The crash of the waves that took his ship became, in his philosophy, just a sound. The real event was the unshakable reasoning that could choose how to respond to that sound. Can you hear it, the distant roar of that ancient sea, not as a threat but as a backdrop? The murmur of the Athenian crowd fades into a gentle white noise. Here, on this painted porch, the first stone of an inner fortress was laid, a shelter from all of life's storms. And soon, this philosophy would attract minds destined to rule an empire. From the painted porch of Athens, this philosophy of the inner citadel began a slow march west, crossing the sea to a rising power built on discipline and stone. Rome was not a city of abstract debate, but of action, of legions, aqueducts, and law. And in the turbulent final century of the Republic, Stoicism found its most severe and practical testing ground. The Roman aristocracy prized virtus, a blend of courage, honor, and manly excellence. Yet their world was fracturing. The Forum echoed with the clashes of ambitious generals, political gangs roamed the streets, and the old ideals of the Republic seemed to crumble with each new civil war. Into this maelstrom, Stoicism arrived not as a gentle philosophy for contemplation, but as a survival manual for the soul. Its core tenets of duty, self-control, and accepting what you cannot change resonated like a clarion call to men drowning in chaos. It offered a moral compass when the political one was spinning wildly, and an inner fortress no army could breach. Consider the figure of Cato the Younger. In a Senate filled with compromise and opportunism, Cato stood like a statue carved from Stoic principle. He was known for his severe simplicity, wearing the plain tunic of a philosopher amidst the silks of senators, and for an integrity so unbending it frustrated allies and enemies alike. For Cato, Stoicism was not a private comfort but a public weapon in defense of the dying republic. When Julius Caesar crossed the Rubicon, plunging Rome into civil war, Cato saw it as the death of liberty itself. He fought not for victory, which he likely knew was impossible, but for duty. And when the cause was finally lost, his final act was a brutal lesson in Stoic resolve. Captured by Caesar's forces, Cato chose to take his own life rather than live under a dictator's pardon. The historical accounts describe a grim, methodical process. After a first attempt failed, he tore the bandages from his wounds, ensuring his own end. To Caesar, this was a personal affront. To the Stoics who followed, it was the ultimate act of self-determination, a final declaration that his inner freedom, his proherses or moral choice, was the one thing no conqueror could ever take. Here lies the powerful duality at the heart of our story, a perfect rhythm for quiet reflection. Picture the external world of that era, a relentless storm of marching legions, political betrayals, and the roar of the mob. Now contrast it with the internal world Stoicism cultivated, a chamber of profound silence, ordered thought, and unwavering calm. The sleep it promises is not an escape from reality, but a deep rest within it, like finding the still eye of a hurricane. The chaos of the late Republic was immense, yet within men like Cato there was a center that held. How does that quiet center feel to you? Is it a distant ideal or a place you have visited in your own storms? As the Republic fell and an empire rose from its ashes, this philosophy would find its way to the very man holding the reins of absolute power. The roar of the mob in Rome was replaced by the howling wind along the Danube. Here, in a military camp on the very edge of the civilized world, the ultimate test of Stoic philosophy was underway. The Emperor Marcus Aurelius did not rule from a gilded throne, but from a campaign tent, its leather walls trembling against the northern gales. Outside, the sounds were not of senators debating, but of Germanic tribes marshalling beyond the tree line, of Roman legionaries sharpening swords, and of the ever-present cough of the plague that had followed his armies from the south. The weight he carried was not a crown, but the survival of an empire stretched thin by war on two fronts. And in this place of mud, steel, and sickness, under the flickering light of a simple oil lamp, the most powerful man in the world picked up a pen. He wrote in Greek, the language of philosophers, not Latin, the language of law. He titled his thoughts simply to himself. We know it as Meditations. This was no royal decree or memoir for posterity. It was a private manual for a soul under siege, a series of stern and gentle reminders scribbled in the dead of night. The opening words of its second book set the tone for everything that follows. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. In that damp tent, surrounded by the machinery of war, he was drilling this truth into his own heart. The tribes would attack or not attack. The plague would take whom it would. These were outside events, the indifferent things Zeno spoke of centuries before. His only empire, his only true dominion, was the landscape of his own judgments and reactions. He turned this inner governance upon every torment. His beloved wife Faustina faced rumors of infidelity, a personal betrayal that stung an emperor. His trusted general, Avidius Cassius, later revolted against him, a profound political betrayal. The Antonine Plague, possibly smallpox, swept through the empire, claiming millions, including his own adopted brother and co-emperor, Lucius Verus. Through it all, his pen kept moving. He wrote not to complain, but to recalibrate. He constantly reminded himself of the view from above, the cosmic perspective. From the stars, our struggles are small. From the span of centuries, even an emperor's life is a brief sigh. all things of the body are a river, he wrote, all things of the mind, dream and delirium. Life is warfare and a sojourn in a strange land. He found a strange solace in this transience. If everything is destined to fade, then the pressure to control every outcome fades with it. His duty remained, but the frantic anxiety could be surrendered. This is the enduring image of the philosopher king. Not a statue on a pedestal, but a weary man in a lamplit tent, using the discipline of his own thoughts to build a sanctuary of calm that no barbarian army could ever breach. He was applying the Stoic principles of his forebears to the most extreme circumstances imaginable, proving that the inner fortress could hold even when its commander was responsible for the entire outer wall. The scratch of his pen in that quiet tent is a sound that has echoed far longer than the battle cries outside. It invites a question for any of us facing our own modern frontiers. What would you write in your own private manual, in your own hour of quiet resistance? Those late-night writings were not an occasional comfort but a strict discipline. Each entry in the meditations was a deliberate act of mental hygiene, a ritual performed by the emperor to wash the grime of the day from his mind before sleep. He did not write to an audience but to himself, often beginning with direct, forceful commands. Marcus he would write, reminding himself of his own humanity. Then he would systematically review his day through a lens of Stoic principle. A common practice was to recall the virtues of those he admired, bringing their imagined presence into his tent. He would list the restraint of his adoptive father, Antoninus Pius, or the integrity of his tutor, Rusticus. By holding their examples in his mind, he fortified his own resolve, surrounding himself with a council of virtuous ghosts to counteract the day's provocations. Next came the dissection of his own passions. Did a subordinate's incompetence spark anger? He would examine that anger, tracing its root to a frustrated desire for control over another's actions, which Stoicism teaches is impossible. Was there fear about the next day's battle? He would confront it, acknowledging the possibility of death not as a tragedy, but as a natural return to the elements from which he came. This was not suppression, but clear-eyed analysis, disarming volatile emotions by understanding their source. Two of his most powerful tools for this mental decluttering were the view from above and amor fati. The view from above is a guided visualization. He would instruct himself to mentally rise, to look down upon his camp, then the province, then the entire earth as a tiny blue marble. From that cosmic vantage point, the quarrels of kings, the movements of armies, even the vast Roman Empire itself, shrank to insignificance. This perspective instantly shrinks our own worries, revealing how many of our anxieties are about tiny dramas on a speck of dust. Amor fati, the love of one's fate, is the ultimate acceptance. It means embracing everything that happens, not with passive resignation, but with active goodwill. The plague, the betrayal, the freezing night on the frontier, each was to be welcomed not as a punishment, but as necessary material for the practice of virtue, like fire tempering steel. To love your fate is to stop wrestling with reality and instead move in harmony with it, a profound release of mental resistance. This is the hidden gift within the meditations, a structure we can borrow for our own restless nights. Your version needs no parchment or philosophical Greek. It is simply the quiet act of review. As you settle into bed, ask yourself 3 gentle questions in the spirit of Marcus. What did I learn today, however small? This seeks the virtue of wisdom. Where did I act with courage or kindness? This acknowledges your own virtue. And finally, what am I carrying that I can consciously release? This is the practice of amor fati for the modern mind, letting go of the frustration over the traffic, the worry about the unanswered email, the sting of the offhand comment. You are not judging your day, you are tidying the inner chamber, putting each thought in its proper place. This nightly ritual transforms ancient philosophy into a direct, soothing pathway to sleep, decluttering the mind so that calm, like a silent emperor, can finally take the watch. The emperor's tent on the frontier offered one kind of test, a stark battle against external chaos. But there existed another arena, far more treacherous, where the enemy wore a familiar face and the walls were gilded. This was the Palatine Hill in Rome under the reign of Nero. Here, the air was thick not with campfire smoke, but with the scent of exotic perfumes, the murmur of conspiracy, and a cold, paralyzing fear. In the heart of this gilded lion's den lived Lucius Annius Seneca, a man whose life became a masterclass in navigating impossible contradictions. He was a celebrated playwright, a wealthy senator, and a Stoic philosopher who authored some of the most lucid, accessible guides to tranquility ever written. And he was the tutor and chief advisor to one of history's most notorious emperors. Imagine the daily tension. Seneca's duties required him to navigate a court dripping in obscene luxury, where Nero's whims were law and paranoia was the currency of survival. The emperor built a vast golden palace, the Domus Aurea, over the ashes of a great fire, a monument to excess that stood in glaring opposition to every Stoic ideal of simplicity. Seneca's own wealth, likely amassed through his position, became a point of profound hypocrisy he himself wrestled with. He lived in a palace while writing letters advising his friend Lucilius to live plainly, to seek inner riches. This was the central drama of his life, the relentless friction between principle and pragmatism, between the serene world of his philosophy and the bloody theater of his politics. Yet, from within this moral labyrinth, Seneca produced works of stunning clarity. In his essay on the shortness of life, he confronted the very anxiety that plagued the powerful and the powerless alike, the feeling that time is slipping away. "It is not that we have a short time to live," he wrote, "but that we waste a great deal of it. We are not given a short life, but we make it short." His remedy was a Stoic focus on the present, on claiming ownership of your attention, which he called our most precious resource. He urged his readers to stop postponing life, to stop acting as if we have endless years ahead. This message, written by a man scheduling state affairs and placating a tyrant, carries a piercing urgency. He was writing the instructions for mental freedom from inside a gilded cage. The inevitable end came when Nero, increasingly unstable and suspicious, turned on his old tutor. Accused of involvement in a plot, Seneca was ordered to take his own life. The scene that followed, recorded by the historian Tacitus, was a final, brutal performance of his philosophy. Upon hearing the sentence, Seneca showed no panic. He calmly reassured his grieving friends, reminding them of the Stoic lessons they had shared. As the veins in his arms were opened, he continued to dictate his final thoughts to scribes. His death, like his life, was a complex tapestry, a blend of political theater and genuine philosophical resolve. But its core lesson transcends the drama. It is about meeting the ultimate loss of control, the end of the story, with a conscious and dignified acceptance. His life presents a compelling, strangely comforting paradox for us. We are not advisors to tyrants, but we all navigate our own forms of compromise, our own tensions between the ideal and the real. Seneca's story reassures us that the pursuit of inner peace is not reserved for the pure or the perfectly situated. It is most vital, most necessary for those in the thick of life's messy, contradictory, and demanding currents. His writings, born in that pressure cooker, feel less like distant philosophy and more like urgent notes passed from a friend who understands the struggle, telling us to breathe, to focus on what is ours to hold, this single present moment. And as his story fades, another figure emerges from a much darker corner of the Roman world, one who would prove that the Stoic fortress could be built from within literal chains. The letters themselves are a quiet rebellion against the noise of Nero's Rome. While the court buzzed with intrigue, Seneca was engaged in a different kind of correspondence, a series of 124 letters to his friend Lucilius, a provincial governor. These were not state documents, but intimate conversations, a masterclass in applied philosophy sent through the imperial post. Think of them as the ancient equivalent of late-night texts from a deeply wise friend, each one tackling a specific ache of the human condition: anger that burns too hot, grief that weighs too heavy, the anxiety that time is running out. He writes with the comforting directness of someone who knows the struggle firsthand. In one famous letter, he offers a perspective on our greatest shared fear. Death is not an evil, he explains. What is it then, the one law mankind has never broken? He encourages Lucilius, and by extension us, to stop fearing the end or agonizing over the distant future. You are frightened of dying, he writes, but come now, how is this life of yours anything but death? His point is not morbid but liberating. The person you were in childhood died, the person you were last year is gone. Life is a series of endings and beginnings, and to clutch desperately at the present moment is to misunderstand its nature. He offers a beautiful, calming metaphor to quiet the restless mind. Life is like a play, he says. What matters is not how long it lasts, but how well it is acted. Your role may be short or long, you may be a king or a common soldier. The only thing disgraceful is to perform your part poorly. This shifts the focus entirely from the length of our time to the quality of our character within it, a profound relief for anyone lying awake worrying about wasted days or an uncertain tomorrow. But Seneca's most practical tool for serenity, a direct gift for modern sleep, is his practice of premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils. This is not pessimistic worrying. It is a deliberate, calm exercise in emotional vaccination. Each day, he advised, we should briefly bring to mind the potential losses life holds, the possibility of illness, professional setback, or personal rejection. By visiting these scenarios in the safe theater of our imagination, we strip them of their sudden, terrifying power. We rehearse our own resilience. If you have feared a thing in advance, he writes, the blow is lessened by your prior reflection. Imagine applying this gentle ritual as you settle into bed. Instead of pushing away a nagging fear about tomorrow's meeting or a personal worry, you briefly invite it in. You acknowledge it could happen. You then see yourself not crumbling but responding with the calm dignity of a Stoic, accepting what you cannot change and focusing on what you can, your own virtue. This neutralizes the fear's charge, transforming it from a monster in the dark to a manageable possibility you have already faced and survived in your mind. The letters to Lucilius ultimately feel like a whispered conversation across centuries, offering not complex theories but usable wisdom for a troubled heart. They remind us that our nighttime anxieties about time, loss, and our place in the world are not new, and that the path to calm is not through avoiding these thoughts, but through meeting them with a prepared and steady mind. The gilded cage of Seneca's Rome gives way to a far more humble classroom, its floor made of packed earth, not marble. Here, the teacher was a former slave, a man whose body bore the permanent marks of a world's cruelty. His name was Epictetus, and his journey to philosophy began not with a shipwreck of fortune, but with the breaking of his own leg. Born into bondage in the remote province of Phrygia, Epictetus had no control over his own body, his labor, or his fate. Historical tradition, passed down by his students, tells us his master, a wealthy freedman, once twisted his leg so violently during a beating that it never healed properly, leaving him with a lifelong lameness. This was a brutality designed to demonstrate absolute dominion. Yet, in a profound reversal, this very act of external control became the catalyst for an unparalleled mastery of the internal world. While his body was chained, his mind began its escape. He was permitted to study philosophy, an unusual allowance, and when he was eventually freed, he carried not bitterness but a crystalline, hard-won wisdom. He established his school in the Greek town of Nicopolis, a simple place where students, including the future historian Arrian, sat on wooden benches to hear him speak. Arrian would later faithfully record these lessons in two works, the Discourses, which capture the lively back and forth of his teachings, and the Enchiridion, a manual or handbook that distills his core principles into direct, actionable rules for living. From his life of radical constraint, Epictetus carved out the single most liberating idea in all of Stoicism. He drew a line, clear and unwavering, through the chaos of human experience. On one side of the line are the things within our control, our own judgments, our desires, our aversions, and the actions we choose to take. On the other side, everything else, our physical body, our reputation, our wealth, our property, what other people say and do. His entire philosophy is an exercise in training the mind to focus all its energy on the first list and to meet everything on the second list with a calm acceptance, or as he called it, a reserved response. This is the source of his most famous teaching, a sentence that has comforted millions. It is not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. For Epictetus, the broken leg was not the event. The event was his choice to see it not as a catastrophe that defined him, but as an obstacle to be incorporated, a piece of indifferent material for his character to work with. He would tell his students, do not seek for things to happen as you wish, but wish for things to happen as they do, and your life will go smoothly. This is not passive surrender, it is an active alignment with reality, a decision to stop arguing with the facts of your existence. Imagine applying this tonight as you lie in the quiet dark. That worry about your health, that lingering embarrassment from a conversation, the uncertainty of a tomorrow you cannot command, these all belong on the list of things outside your control. Your gentle acknowledgement of this fact, your decision to release the struggle against them, that action belongs to you. This is the profound sleep of the Stoic, the rest that comes from having fought only the battles that can be won, the ones within your own mind. The slave who taught emperors offers a quieting truth. Our chains are most often forged by our own judgments, and the key has been in our hands all along. The classroom in Nicopolis was a workshop for the mind, and Epictetus was its master craftsman. His lessons were not abstract theories, but drills, daily exercises in perception designed to forge an unbreakable resilience. He taught that philosophy must be practiced, not just discussed, and that the most potent training ground is not a quiet library, but the noisy, frustrating flow of ordinary life. Every minor annoyance, every small loss was to be greeted not as a nuisance but as an opportunity. He gave a simple, enduring example. If your favorite clay cup slips from your hands and shatters on the floor, the natural reaction is a flash of irritation, even grief for the lost object. But Epictetus asks you to shift your gaze. Do not see a broken cup, see a cup that has fulfilled its nature. From the moment it was fired in the kiln, its destiny was to one day return to pieces. What has happened is not a violation of the world's order, but a confirmation of it. The cup was never truly yours to keep forever, it was only yours to use for a time. By reframing the event this way, you disarm the disappointment at its root. This is the art of acceptance in action, a gentle realignment with the way things are, not the way we wish them to be. At the heart of this practice is his crucial doctrine of impressions. An impression, or fantasia, is that first, raw jolt of experience. It is the sudden heat of anger when someone cuts you off in traffic, the cold clutch of fear at an unexpected bill, the pang of hurt from a thoughtless comment. These impressions, Epictetus taught, crash against our minds like waves. They are automatic and unavoidable. Our freedom, our peace, lies entirely in what happens next. Between the impression and our reaction, there exists a sliver of space, a pause for judgment. In that pause, we have a choice to assent to the impression, to let it define our reality, or to question it, to hold it at arm's length and examine its truth. The angry impression says, that driver disrespected me. The Stoic pause asks, is that the only possible interpretation? Could they be rushing to an emergency? Are they simply distracted? More importantly, does their action truly have any power to diminish my own character unless I permit it? This pause is the birthplace of all mental freedom. Let us try this exercise together now. In the quiet of this moment, think back to your own day. Perhaps you were stuck in a slow line at the store, or a colleague was late for a meeting, or you spilled something on your clothes. Recall that minor irritation, feel the initial impression, that flicker of frustration. Now, introduce the pause, breathe into that space, apply the lens of Epictetus. This delay, this spill, this human error, was it within my complete control? The answer almost always is no. These events belong to the realm of external things. They are like the weather, phenomena that happen around you. Your judgment about them, however, is yours to command. Can you see the event not as a personal affront, but as a neutral occurrence, a piece of life's indifferent material? The long line becomes a few unexpected minutes of stillness in a rushed day. The spill becomes a reminder of impermanence, a small lesson in non-attachment. This is not about pretending the frustration does not exist, but about consciously choosing not to be enslaved by it. By engaging in this brief mental rehearsal, you are not just learning about Stoicism, you are actively dissolving the residual tension of the day. You are sweeping the inner porch, clearing away the clinging impressions so that a deeper, more restorative calm can settle in. This is how philosophy becomes therapy, a nightly ritual of release that prepares the mind for a state of restful detachment, where the broken cups of the day no longer hold the power to keep you awake. Cato's integrity was a fortress that even his enemies admired. In the crumbling twilight of the Roman Republic, as political alliances shifted like desert sands, he stood immovable, a man carved from Stoic principle. To his supporters, he was the last guardian of republican liberty. To his rivals, he was an infuriating obstacle, a man whose virtue made their compromises look like corruption. His entire life was a performance of philosophy, not in words but in relentless action. He walked barefoot through the muddy streets of Rome in rain, not as a public display but as a private training in endurance. He wore the plain, dark tunic of a philosopher when other senators shimmered in purple-edged togas, a constant, silent protest against the decadence he believed was poisoning the state. And his greatest opponent was not a foreign army, but a fellow Roman, the brilliant and ambitious Julius Caesar. Where Caesar offered bread, circuses, and debt forgiveness to win the love of the masses, Cato saw only a dangerous demagogue trading the Republic's future for personal power. He fought Caesar's policies with every fiber of his being, his famous filibusters in the Senate lasting until nightfall, a one-man wall against the tide of history. He understood that Caesar's rise meant more than a change of ruler. It meant the death of an ideal, the end of a system built, however imperfectly, on shared governance and law. When Caesar finally crossed the Rubicon River with his legions, declaring war on the Republic itself, Cato knew the battle was not just for territory, but for the soul of Rome. He joined the forces of Pompey not out of personal loyalty, but because it was the last stand for the cause. The war went badly. At the Battle of Thapsus in North Africa, Caesar's veterans crushed the Republican army. The cause was lost. Retreating to the coastal city of Utica with the remnants of his allies and a host of worried civilians, Cato faced the final test. Caesar was approaching, and his clemency was well known. He would likely pardon Cato, absorbing him into the new regime, forcing him to live under the rule of the man he considered a tyrant. For Cato, this was not an option. To accept Caesar's mercy would be to validate the dictatorship, to make his lifelong struggle a meaningless performance. His freedom, his proherses, was the one thing left that he could control. So he prepared for death with the same meticulous discipline he applied to life. He spent his final evening in philosophical conversation, then retired to his chamber and read Plato's Phaedo, a dialogue concerning the immortality of the soul. The choice of text was profoundly Stoic, a meditation on why a good man need not fear death. After reading, he laid down and took his own life. When his friends rushed in and found him wounded but alive, they called for a physician. In that moment, Cato demonstrated the ultimate act of will. With a terrible calm, he tore open his bandages and the wound beneath, ensuring his end. It was a brutal act, but in his mind, a necessary one. He was not merely escaping defeat, he was making a final, unanswerable argument. His death was a statement written in his own blood, declaring that some principles are worth more than life itself, and that true liberty lies in choosing the manner of your exit when all other choices have been stripped away. His story is a somber echo in the long hall of Stoicism, a reminder that the philosophy could demand the ultimate price. It asks us a quiet, uncomfortable question as we seek our own peace. Where do we draw our own unbreakable line, and what would we never consent to lose, even in the deepest silence of our own hearts? Cato's bloody defiance cast a long shadow over the next generation of Stoics. In the early Roman Empire, under the watchful eyes of emperors who demanded not just obedience but applause, the philosophy shifted from a tool for personal endurance to a quiet language of political resistance. This was not the age of civil war, but of a subtler, more pervasive fear, where a misplaced word or even a meaningful silence could be treason. Here, Stoicism became the inner compass for men who refused to lose their moral bearings, even when the entire world seemed to spin towards tyranny. Two figures stand out in this grey landscape of principle: Epictetus and his son-in-law, Helvidius Priscus. Epictetus was a senator of the old school, a man who believed the Senate should be a deliberative body, not a theater for flattery. During the reign of Nero, as the emperor's artistic pretensions and violent paranoia grew, the Senate's sessions became grotesque performances. Senators were expected to weep with joy at Nero's terrible poetry and to vote for the execution of anyone the emperor suspected. For Epictetus, the Stoic distinction between what is in our control and what is not became a practical guide to survival with honor. He could not control Nero's madness or the Senate's cowardice. But he could control his own participation. So, on days when the decrees were particularly shameful, he simply exercised his power of choice. He stood up and he walked out. This silent exit was not a dramatic speech. It was a void, an eloquent absence that spoke volumes in a room full of sycophants. It was a small, daily act of conscience, a way to preserve his inner freedom by refusing to lend his voice to injustice. His resistance was in the quiet things he did not do. After Nero's death and the chaotic year of 4 emperors, the general Vespasian brought stability, but at a cost. He demanded the same absolute deference. This is where Epictetus' son-in-law, Helvidius Priscus, took a different, more confrontational path. Educated in Stoicism by the same teachers, Helvidius believed the philosophy demanded not just private integrity, but public accountability for those in power. In the Senate, he pointedly referred to Vespasian not as emperor, but by his personal name, a stunning breach of protocol that asserted the ruler was just a man, a citizen first. He argued openly against taxes he deemed unfair and challenged imperial decisions. Where Epictetus created a sanctuary of silence, Helvidius built a platform of principle. Vespasian, initially tolerant, finally lost patience. He was said to have pleaded, "Why do you need to insult me?" To which Helvidius reportedly replied, "Why do you need to silence me?" The emperor, who saw himself as a restorer of order, could not allow this constant, principled opposition. The end for both men was predictably grim. Nero, feeling the sting of Epictetus' silent judgments, eventually ordered his death. Helvidius was executed on Vespasian's orders. Their stories are not tales of victory, but of consistency. Their Stoicism was not about achieving political change, which was largely outside their control, but about maintaining an unassailable inner truth. In a world where power could command your words and your actions, it could not command your assent. It could not force you to believe a lie was truth or that cruelty was justice. This is the deeply soothing core of their legacy for us today. Stoic courage in the face of overwhelming power rarely looks like a glorious last stand. More often, it looks like the quiet decision to turn off a toxic news feed, to disengage from a bitter argument that serves no purpose, to simply walk out of a metaphorical room that demands your compliance in something you know is wrong. It is the strength to protect your inner peace by consciously choosing where to place your attention and your moral energy. Contemplating their quiet fortitude invites a gentle question into the stillness of your own mind. Where in your life can you exercise that same quiet power of a principled no or a peaceful exit to guard the sanctuary of your own thoughts tonight? These stories of resilience are not just ancient history, they are blueprints. The same mental disciplines that fortified a philosopher king on a war frontier or a senator in a corrupt court can be repurposed tonight in the quiet of your own room to build a sanctuary for sleep. Let us translate their wisdom into a practical toolkit, a series of gentle evening exercises designed not for grand heroism, but for profound rest. The first tool comes directly from the lamplit tent of Marcus Aurelius. He called it his nightly review, a ritual of honest and compassionate accounting. As you lie in bed, allow your mind to walk backward through the hours of your day. Do not rush. See the key moments, the conversations, the tasks. The goal is not to judge, but to observe with the calm eye of a friendly historian. When you recall a mistake, a moment of sharpness or procrastination, acknowledge it plainly. I was impatient in that meeting. I avoided a difficult phone call. Then, and this is the crucial Stoic turn, release the self-criticism. Marcus would note his errors to learn from them, not to punish himself for being human. Immediately counterbalance this by consciously noting a moment where you acted with virtue, however small. Perhaps you listened patiently when you wanted to interrupt. Maybe you completed a duty you attempted to shirk. This practice ends the day not with a tally of failures, but with a balanced record of your humanity, leaving the mind settled and neutral, ready for stillness. The second exercise may sound counterintuitive, but its power to induce calm is remarkable. It is the Stoic practice of negative visualization, or premeditatio malorum. This is not morbid worrying. It is a brief, controlled visit to a place of loss to ignite a deeper appreciation for the present. In the safety of your imagination, spend just a moment considering the temporary nature of things. Picture your home not as a permanent possession, but as a shelter you are privileged to inhabit for a time. Think of your loved ones and with a gentle heart, acknowledge the simple, breathtaking fact that they are here now. By mentally touching the possibility of their absence, you do not summon fear, you dissolve taking them for granted. The emotion that follows is not anxiety, but a warm, grounding wave of gratitude for their present presence in your life. This practice tenderly loosens our clinging grasp on the world, replacing a fear of loss with a thankful enjoyment of what is, a perfect state for releasing into sleep. Finally, we take the clearest tool from Epictetus's workshop, the dichotomy of control, and make it tangible. If your mind is racing with tomorrow's worries, give them a place to go. In your mind or on a real piece of paper if it helps, perform a simple sorting exercise. Draw 2 columns. In the first, list the concerns that are within your control. This list is always small and always about your own actions and attitudes. I can prepare for my presentation. I can choose to go to bed on time. I can decide my response to criticism. The second column is for everything else, the vast ocean of external events. This list holds the outcomes of the presentation, what others will think, the traffic tomorrow, world events, the weather. The act of writing them down and placing them firmly in the outside my control column is a ritual of release. You are not ignoring these worries, you are formally acknowledging their true nature. They are not your burden to solve tonight. They are phenomena like clouds passing in the sky of your awareness. Having sorted them, you can consciously, with a breath, let the weight of that second column go. Your only task is to tend to the short, manageable list of your own choices. This is the ultimate Stoic preparation for rest, the understanding that a quiet mind is not one empty of thought, but one that has wisely discerned where its responsibility begins and ends. This cosmic perspective was not a poetic escape but a core tenet of their entire worldview. To truly understand the Stoic calm, we must step back even further into the realm of their physics. The ancient Stoics believed the universe itself was not a chaotic accident, but a single, living, rational entity. They called this the logos, a divine reason or intelligent principle that weaves through all things, from the orbit of planets to the beat of a human heart. Everything that happens, from a gentle rain to a devastating earthquake, unfolds according to this benevolent, natural order. This is the ultimate source of their profound acceptance. Think of the entire cosmos as an immense, intricate tapestry. From our limited human vantage point, pressed close to the fabric, we see only knots, tangled threads, and patches of dark color. A personal loss feels like a brutal snarl. A global crisis appears as a chaotic mess of conflicting hues. It seems random, even cruel. But if we could step back to see the tapestry from the height of the weaver's loom, a magnificent and coherent picture would emerge. Every dark thread, every knot is essential to the contrast, the shadow, and the strength of the overall design. What feels like senseless suffering from within the pattern is, from the cosmic view, a necessary part of a beautiful, purposeful whole. This is the philosophical bedrock that makes their nightly meditation so powerful. The most direct practice to touch this truth is the view from above, a mental exercise Marcus Aurelius used to dissolve his imperial burdens. Let us try it together now as a direct pathway from anxiety to sleep. Begin by feeling the weight of your body on the bed, the texture of the sheets. Now, in your mind's eye, gently rise above the room. See the roof of your building, then the neighborhood, then your entire town or city. Its lights like a glittering network of tiny sparks. Keep rising. The city becomes a smudge on the landscape a part of a continent, the continent a fragment of a beautiful, swirling blue and white marble hanging in the velvet black of space. From here, all borders vanish. You cannot see nations or conflicts. You see a single, fragile, living world. Now look for your life, your home, your street, your bed. They have dissolved into the whole. The meeting you dread tomorrow, the regret from yesterday, the personal worry that feels all-consuming from this vantage point, it is rendered to its true scale, a whisper in the cosmic story. This does not make your life meaningless. It makes it part of a meaning far grander than any single worry can contain. All human strife, all ambition and heartache is happening on that tiny, beautiful marble. And it is all, according to the Stoics, unfolding as it must within the rational, embracing order of the logos. The feeling this evokes is not loneliness, but a profound, peaceful insignificance. Your anxieties are real, but they are also threads in a tapestry you cannot fully see. To rest tonight is to trust the weaver, to release your grip on the single thread you hold and allow yourself to be held within the entire majestic design. This expansive surrender is the deepest sleep of all. That cosmic tapestry woven by the logos presents a beautiful but daunting question. If the universe is rational and our goal is to live in harmony with it, what would a person look like who had achieved this perfect alignment? The Stoics had an answer, and they gave it a name, the sage. This figure was their ultimate ideal, a human being who had attained flawless wisdom and virtue. Think of the sage not as a historical person, but as a concept, a guiding star in the night sky of philosophy. They described this individual as having built an inner citadel so strong, so complete, that no external event could ever breach its walls. No loss could provoke despair, no insult could spark rage, no unexpected fortune could trigger giddy attachment. The sage would meet all of life, its triumphs and its tragedies, with the same profound and unshakable calm, a state the Greeks called apatheia. This does not mean a cold, emotionless void. It means freedom from the pathe, the destructive passions, blind rage, paralyzing fear, obsessive craving, that cloud judgment and enslave us to events outside our control. The sage experiences the world with clear-eyed understanding, not turbulent reaction. Their courage is not the absence of fear, but the judgment that nothing outside the self is truly fearsome. Their joy is not a fleeting excitement, but a deep and steady contentment derived from living in accordance with nature and virtue. It is a compelling image, this perfected human fortress. Yet the Stoics were intensely practical. They openly admitted that the sage was an exceedingly rare creature, perhaps even a hypothetical model. Seneca wrote that the sage is as uncommon as the phoenix, seen only once every 500 years. They did not expect anyone, not even Marcus Aurelius in his tent, to achieve this perfect state. So why hold up an impossible ideal? Because a guiding star does not need to be reached to be useful. Its constant light provides direction. The sage represents the ultimate expression of the principles we have been exploring, the dichotomy of control, the discipline of ascent, the cosmic perspective. It shows us the destination of the path so we can tell if our next step is in the right direction. For us, in the quiet of our own lives, this is not a cause for discouragement, but for immense comfort and practical focus. We are not asked to become the unbreachable citadel overnight. We are invited to build our own inner fortress brick by brick through our daily practice. Every time you pause before reacting to a provocation, you are laying a stone in your wall. Each moment you choose gratitude over complaint, you are reinforcing the gate. When you release a worry about something outside your control as you try to sleep, you are deepening the well of calm within your courtyard. Your fortress will have cracks. Storms will sometimes shake its towers, but its mere construction changes everything. It means you are no longer a helpless inhabitant of the chaotic landscape of external events. You are the architect and guardian of your own inner peace. This is the Stoic gift of self-reliance. As you drift towards sleep tonight, you can let go of the need to be perfect, to have solved everything. Instead, hold the simple, powerful image of your own inner citadel, however unfinished it may be. Feel its walls, built from your own conscious choices, standing between you and the noise of the world. Within them, there is only the quiet space you have made for yourself, a sanctuary where the mind can finally and safely rest. The inner citadel built by the Stoics was not a relic left in the ruins of Rome. Its blueprints were rediscovered, dusted off, and given a new name in the 20th century. The connection is so direct it feels almost like a secret passed down through time. Modern cognitive behavioral therapy, the gold standard for treating anxiety and depression, stands on a foundation laid by Epictetus, Seneca, and Marcus Aurelius. The core insight shared by both is disarmingly simple, yet it changes everything. Our emotions are not caused directly by events, but by the beliefs we hold about those events. Epictetus called these initial beliefs impressions. A modern therapist would call them automatic negative thoughts. The process for dealing with them is nearly identical. First, you catch the thought. That flash of anger when someone is late is not the event itself. It is your impression that they are disrespecting your time. That knot of anxiety before a social event is not the party. It is the belief that you will be judged and found wanting. Both systems teach you to pause, to insert a moment of space between the impression and your reaction. Then you examine the thought. Is it true? Is it helpful? What is the evidence for and against it? The person who is late might have been in an accident or stuck in traffic they could not control. The party might be full of people just as nervous as you are. Finally, you challenge and replace the unhelpful thought with a more rational, balanced one. This is not positive thinking, it is accurate thinking. It is the Stoic discipline of assent repackaged for the clinical office. The founder of rational emotive behavior therapy, a precursor to CBT, was the psychologist Albert Ellis. He was remarkably explicit about his debt, stating that his system owed a great deal to the ancient Stoic philosophers. He saw them as the original cognitive therapists, pioneers in understanding that we disturb ourselves by the views we take of events. This historical link is more than a curious footnote. It grounds the nightly meditations of a Roman emperor in rigorous modern science. It transforms Stoicism from a philosophical preference into a kind of time-tested technology for mental well-being. When you perform your evening review, sorting your worries into columns of control, you are not just following an ancient ritual, you are engaging in a form of self-administered cognitive therapy. You are identifying the automatic thoughts that cling to you from the day and gently disputing them under the quiet light of reason. This means the peace you are cultivating is not a mystical state, but a natural byproduct of retraining your own mind. The same neural pathways that get reinforced by worry can be rewired by calm, deliberate reflection. That makes the practice you are learning here profoundly practical. It is a bridge between the wisdom of the philosopher kings and the quiet, science-backed hope for a better night's rest. Your mind, once a source of noise, can become the very instrument of its own silence. A philosophy this powerful inevitably casts long shadows. To fully embrace its light, we must also understand the common criticisms and misconceptions that surround Stoicism, not to undermine it, but to see its true shape more clearly. Perhaps the most persistent charge is that Stoicism demands emotional suppression, that it asks us to become cold, unfeeling statues. This is a fundamental misunderstanding. The Stoics did not seek to eliminate emotion, but to master the destructive passions they called the path. Think of it as the difference between a stormy sea and a calm, deep lake. The stormy sea is ruled by its waves' blind rage, overwhelming grief, frantic fear. It reacts violently to every wind. The lake feels the same wind, but its response is a gentle ripple on a vast, stable body of water. Stoicism cultivates the lake. It allows you to feel sadness without being drowned by despair, to feel anger without being consumed by fury. The goal is not numbness, but a profound emotional resilience where you experience feelings without being hijacked by them. This is the core of their sought-after apatheia, freedom from being passively affected, not freedom from feeling altogether. A second criticism suggests this calm leads to passivity, to quietly accepting injustice because it is outside our control. The historical record itself refutes this. Remember Thracia Petus walking out of the Senate, or Helvidius Priscus challenging an emperor to his face. Their Stoicism was not a philosophy of inaction, but of principled action. They meticulously distinguished between what they could and could not control. They could not control Nero's madness, but they could control their own participation in it. Their resistance was focused with laser precision on the sphere of their own agency, their voice, their vote, their presence. This is not passive acceptance, it is strategic, courageous engagement where it actually matters. Stoicism provides the inner fortitude to fight the battles you can win, especially the one for your own integrity, without wasting your spirit raging against immovable walls. Then there is the philosophical puzzle nestled within the concept of the logos. If a benevolent, rational force guides the universe, does that not lead to a kind of fatalism? If everything happens as it must, why strive for anything? This is a nuanced point the Stoics themselves wrestled with. Their answer lies in the role of human reason. We are not mere leaves blown by a cosmic wind. We are fragments of the logos itself, endowed with the capacity to understand and align our will with nature's flow. Our striving is not to change the grand tapestry, but to consciously and virtuously weave our own thread into it. Our choices matter immensely because they are the very mechanism through which the rational order expresses itself in human life. To live virtuously is to fulfill our nature, which is the point of the whole design. Considering these critiques does not weaken the Stoic framework. It deepens it. These are not flaws, but the necessary contours of a philosophy built for the real, complex world. Engaging with them intellectually has a curiously calming effect. It satisfies the questioning mind, resolving doubts that might otherwise linger and churn in the quiet of the night. By understanding what Stoicism is not emotional numbness, passive resignation, blind fate, you can more completely accept what it is, a practical, profound, and deeply human system for building peace. This clarity itself becomes a final release, allowing the last reservations to dissolve so the mind can settle into a state of open, unquestioning tranquility. The philosopher kings left us more than stories. They left a practical architecture for nightly peace. We can now build our own version of their inner citadel with a simple 15-minute ritual, a digital campfire where we gather the wisdom of the ages to prepare for rest. Begin by declaring a digital sunset at least 30 minutes before you intend to sleep. This is not just turning off a screen, it is actively honoring the natural rhythm that Marcus Aurelius observed in the stars themselves. The blue light from our devices mimics the midday sun, confusing our brains and halting the production of melatonin, the very hormone of sleep. By dimming the artificial sun, you signal to your ancient biology that the day's work is done. Replace that glow with the soft, warm light of a lamp or a candle. This small act of environmental control is your first, gentle exercise in Stoic discipline, choosing what serves your tranquility over what demands your scattered attention. In this quiet, illuminated space, take 2 minutes for gratitude, followed directly by 2 minutes of negative visualization. Sit comfortably, perhaps with a simple notebook nearby. First, let your mind settle on 3 specific things from your day for which you are genuinely thankful. They need not be grand. The warmth of your mug this morning, the reliable function of your car, the brief, kind text from a friend. Feel the quiet appreciation for these gifts, then gently shift to the Stoic practice. For just 2 minutes, consider the temporary nature of these very things. Picture your home empty, your routines dissolved, the presence of that loved one only a memory. This is not to invite fear, but to perform a profound alchemy. By touching the possibility of loss, you instantly transmute casual possession into vivid, present-moment gratitude. The feeling that follows is a deep, anchoring contentment, a recognition that everything you have is already on loan from the universe, making its current presence a cause for serene joy. Now move into the daily review, a 5-minute mental scan of the day's events. Adopt the impartial, kind tone Marcus used when writing to himself. Walk backward through your hours. Where did you act with patience or courage? Simply note it. Where did you fall short of your own standards? Acknowledge it plainly, then release the self-criticism. The goal is observation, not condemnation. Did a colleague's remark irritate you? Observe the impression, then apply the dichotomy of control. Their words were outside your command, your reaction was yours to manage. This review is not about grading your performance, but about tidying the mental workspace, putting each event and emotion in its proper drawer so the mind is clear and ordered. With a clearer mind, spend 3 minutes with a reading from the masters. Keep a book of meditations, Seneca's letters, or the Enchiridion by your bedside. Open it at random or to a marked passage and read a single paragraph aloud slowly. Let the words, crafted in tents and courtyards 2,000 years ago, resonate in your own quiet room. Hear Seneca's counsel on the shortness of life, or Marcus' reminder that the universe is change. This connects your personal practice to the timeless stream of wisdom, reminding you that your quest for peace is part of a human tradition far greater than tonight's solitary concerns. Finally, dedicate 5 minutes to the view from above meditation. Settle back, close your eyes, and begin the guided ascent. Feel yourself rising above your room, your neighborhood, seeing the landscape shrink below you. Watch the continent recede into the curve of the planet, a beautiful sphere suspended in starry darkness. From here, look for your life, your worries, your hopes. See them absorbed into the vast, silent tapestry of the cosmos. All urgency dissolves into perspective. Your breathing slows, your body relaxes into the bed, held by the same natural order that spins the galaxies. In this expansive stillness, the boundary between Stoic practice and sleep softly blurs. You are not running from the world, but resting securely within its grand, rational embrace, your own inner citadel finally quiet and secure for the night. The quiet citadel of the mind did not fall with Rome. Its principles, like resilient seeds, lay dormant in the scattered libraries of the medieval world, waiting for a season of rediscovery. That season arrived with the Renaissance, a time when Europe turned with fresh eyes to the wisdom of antiquity. Scholars, dusting off manuscripts of Seneca and Marcus Aurelius, found in them not pagan relics, but startlingly relevant companions for a new age of humanism and personal inquiry. The French essayist Michel de Montaigne, writing in his solitary tower library in the 16th century, filled his pages with references to these Stoic thinkers. He did not adopt their system wholesale, but he absorbed their spirit of self-examination. His famous question, "Que sais-je?" or "What do I know?" was a profoundly Stoic exercise in intellectual humility, a dismantling of arrogant certainty to make room for a more grounded, peaceful understanding of oneself and the world. He saw in their writings a model for confronting the frailties of the body, the anxieties of the mind, and the sheer unpredictability of fortune with a steady, questioning courage. This thread wove directly into the fabric of the Enlightenment, the so-called Age of Reason. Here, the Stoic emphasis on virtue, self-control, and natural law resonated powerfully with thinkers who sought to build societies based on rational principles rather than inherited dogma. The American founding fathers, steeped in classical learning, saw in Stoicism a philosophy for citizen rulers. Thomas Jefferson held Seneca in particularly high esteem, and his early draft of the Declaration of Independence spoke not of a pursuit of happiness as a fleeting thrill, but in the older Stoic sense of eudaimonia, a life of flourishing through virtue and purpose. The calm resilience of George Washington, often praised as Roman in its dignity, reflected this cultivated ideal. The philosophy of the inner fortress had become a blueprint for the character required to found a new republic. Today, this ancient toolkit has been fully democratized. You will find its principles in the pre-game mental routines of elite athletes who focus only on their own performance, not the roar of the crowd or the skill of their opponent, a pure application of the dichotomy of control. Military leaders teach versions of Stoic resilience to personnel facing extreme stress and chaos. Psychologists, as we have seen, formalize its core tenets into therapeutic practices for managing anxiety and depression. And a vibrant, global contemporary Stoic movement thrives, connected through online communities, annual conferences called Stoicons, and a wave of popular books that translate Epictetus for the modern workplace or Marcus Aurelius for daily life. This is no longer the secret discipline of emperors and senators. It is a living philosophy for anyone navigating the quiet battles of ordinary existence, the stress of a deadline, the grief of a personal loss, the uncertainty of a changing world. Your own challenges, however personal they feel, are part of this unbroken human chain. When you lie awake worrying about a financial pressure, you share a fundamental concern with Zeno, who lost his entire fortune to the sea. When you struggle to respond with patience to a provocation, you walk the same path as Seneca, tempering his reactions in a court of intrigue. When you seek a center of calm in a world of digital noise and endless demand, you are building your own version of the Meditations, a private manual for survival and peace. This connection is profoundly reassuring. You are not alone in your search for steadiness. You are drawing from a well that has quenched the thirst of kings, slaves, poets, and presidents for over 2,000 years. The majestic stories of the past are not distant legends, but proof that the tools you're learning to use have been stress-tested in the most extreme laboratories of human experience. They have held, and that means the fortress you are building, brick by mindful brick each night, rests on a foundation that has already withstood the sieges of millennia. This very moment, lying awake in the quiet dark, is the ultimate Stoic training ground. The frustration of insomnia feels intensely personal, a private rebellion of your own body against your will. But from the Stoic perspective, the inability to sleep is not a moral failure. It is an external event, as indifferent and natural as a cloud passing over the moon. Your body's alertness, the ticking clock, the silence that feels too loud, these belong to the column of things outside your complete command. What rests firmly in your control, however, is the fortress of your mind amidst this wakefulness. The secondary anxiety, the spiraling worry about how tired you will be tomorrow, that is the true enemy of peace. It is a story you are telling yourself, an impression to which you are choosing to assent. The philosopher king himself faced endless nights on a hard camp bed, his mind churning with strategies and burdens. He wrote a command to his own restless soul: accept whatever happens to you, even if it is tiresome, because it leads to the health of the universe. Welcome this wakefulness as if you had chosen it. This is the profound pivot from resistance to acceptance. Your task is not to force sleep, which often pushes it further away, but to govern your reaction to this unexpected stretch of consciousness. So, if sleep will not come, release the struggle. Decide to use this quiet hour not with frustration, but with a gentle, productive calm. You might reach for a book, but choose one that soothes rather than stimulates. The measured prose of a Stoic text is ideal. Its ancient rhythms slow the mind. Read a single passage by the soft glow of a small light, or simply lay still and practice a meditation on the breath. Do not focus on emptying your mind, but on observing the natural flow of air in and out, the rise and fall of your chest as neutral events. You can even practice the view from above from right here in your bed, mentally ascending until your sleepless self is just a tiny part of a vast slumbering planet. The goal is not sleep, but rest deep, conscious rest for the body and a purposeful calm for the mind. In doing so, you disarm the insomnia of its power. You transform a period of perceived loss into a gained sanctuary of quiet reflection. By meeting the night with this serene acceptance, you often find that the very anxiety that barred the gate to sleep simply dissolves, and in its place, a natural and profound rest can finally, gently settle in. A human skull sat on the writing desk of a Roman philosopher. This was not a trophy of horror, but a tool for clarity, a physical reminder of a simple, unavoidable fact: you and everyone you know will die. The Stoics called this practice memento mori, a Latin phrase meaning remember you must die. To our modern senses, this seems grim, even macabre, but for the Stoics it was the opposite. It was an antidote to anxiety, a daily practice to burn away life's trivialities and reveal what is essential. They did not dwell on death to cultivate fear, but to disarm it. By keeping mortality in plain sight, they sought to live with a profound sense of urgency and gratitude, not for some distant future, but for the present hour already slipping through their hands. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his Meditations, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think." He was not being dramatic. He was installing a mental filter, a constant question to evaluate his actions. Is this worthy of my finite, precious time? The practice took many forms. Some kept a skull as a paperweight. Others would reflect each evening on the deaths of great figures from history, not with sorrow but with a sobering humility. Alexander the Great and his mule driver, Marcus, would remind himself, both ended in the same place. This leveling perspective dissolved arrogance and petty rivalry. Why strive for empty fame or nurse a grudge when the same earth awaits us all? This nightly reflection becomes a powerful tool for mental decluttering as you prepare for sleep. In the quiet dark, bring this practice to mind gently. Ask yourself a single, clarifying question. If this were my last night, would I be spending it worrying about that unfinished task, that awkward comment, that unanswered email? The answer, almost always, is a soft but definitive no. Those concerns which felt so heavy moments before suddenly lose their substance. They are exposed as the temporary, fleeting worries they are, meaningless in the face of the ultimate horizon. What remains when those petty fears evaporate? Not a void, but a clear space for what truly matters. The practice highlights two things with startling clarity: the imperative to act with virtue now, not later, and the breathtaking beauty of the ordinary present you are currently inhabiting. You are not guaranteed a tomorrow to apologize, to create, to love, or to simply breathe in the cool night air. This realization is not a burden, but a profound release. It strips away the clutter of imagined futures and regretted pasts, leaving you anchored firmly in the now. The peace that follows is not the peace of denial, but the deep calm of acceptance. You are mortal, this night is a gift, and within that finite space, you are completely free to choose how you rest, how you think, and what you release. Memento mori does not whisper of an ending, but of a beginning, the urgent, beautiful beginning of this very moment, which is the only place life can ever actually be lived. The Stoic sage was never meant to be a solitary island. For all their focus on inner fortitude, the philosopher kings understood that our humanity is woven through with bonds to others. The image of Marcus Aurelius alone in his tent is incomplete, for he constantly reflected on the debts he owed to those around him. He began his meditations with a heartfelt chapter of gratitude, listing the virtues he learned from specific people. From his adoptive father, Antoninus Pius, he learned mildness and unshakable steadiness of purpose. From his brother and co-emperor, Lucius Verus, he learned a cheerful generosity of spirit. Even his tutors, some of whom were stern, he thanked for teaching him endurance and the value of a simple life. His inner citadel was not built in isolation, but furnished with the wisdom and character of everyone who had shaped him. His duty as emperor was itself a vast web of responsibility to the millions in his care, a burden he shouldered not with bitter obligation, but with a profound sense of connected purpose. This sense of fellowship was a cornerstone of the philosophy. Seneca, writing from the heart of a treacherous social world, penned some of history's most beautiful letters on friendship. He saw a true friend as a second self, a sanctuary for mutual improvement. We should live as if our every act were performed in the sight of a friend, he advised. This idea transforms our private conduct, infusing even our solitary choices with a sense of shared witness and higher accountability. Friendship, for Seneca, was the practice ground for our wider duty to humanity, a school for kindness, loyalty, and honest counsel. And from the humble classroom of Epictetus, the former slave, came a foundational truth often overlooked. We are not born for ourselves alone, he taught. Nature has fashioned us to be social creatures. To live contrary to this social nature is a form of self-betrayal, a rejection of our own design. Our reason is not given to us solely for personal gain, but to understand our place within the human community, to cooperate, to care for one another, and to build a common good. This principle is rooted in the Stoic concept of oikeiosis, a word meaning appropriation or familiarization. It describes a natural process of extending our circle of concern. We begin as infants with a primary concern for our own well-being. As we mature through reason, we naturally extend that care outward, first to our immediate family, then to our friends and local community, and ideally to all rational beings across the world. The Stoic ideal was cosmopolitan, a citizen of the cosmos, whose sense of duty and compassion knew no arbitrary border. This expansive view of connection is a powerful antidote to the cold, lonely caricature of Stoicism. It warms the philosophy from within. So tonight, as you settle into the quiet, try a different kind of review. Let your mind drift not to tasks or worries, but to people. Picture the faces of those in your immediate circle, your family, your close friends. Consider the specific bonds you share, the small, unseen threads of support, humor, and shared history that connect you. Acknowledge your duties to them, not as heavy burdens, but as the natural expressions of your connection. Perhaps it is the duty to listen patiently, to offer encouragement, or simply to be reliably present. Then gently widen the circle. Think of your colleagues, your neighbors, the strangers you interacted with today. See them for a moment not as background characters in your story, but as fellow travelers, each with their own inner citadel under construction, each facing their own silent battles. This reflection does not ask you to solve their problems, but simply to recognize your shared membership in the human project. Performing this mental scan with kindness, rather than resentment or obligation, generates a subtle but profound warmth in the chest. It replaces the cold anxiety of isolation with the gentle heat of belonging. It reminds you that your fortress has gates and windows, that it exists within a landscape of other fortresses, and that part of your strength comes from the network of silent sentinels around you. This sense of connected purpose is a deep and ancient comfort, one that can ease the heart into a restful, unlonely sleep. This chain of cause and effect, which the Stoics called hymarmene, is the very fabric of the universe. It is not a blind, mechanical fate, but the living expression of the logos itself, the rational and benevolent order weaving all things together. Every event, from the fall of a leaf to the rise of an empire, is a link in this unbreakable chain, each causing the next in a grand, intelligent design. To resist this flow is to resist reality, a futile and exhausting struggle against the current of existence itself. The Stoics offered a vivid image to make this tangible. Imagine a dog tied by a leash to a moving cart. The cart is fate, the unyielding forward motion of the cosmos. The dog has two choices. It can plant its feet, snarl, and be dragged painfully along the rough road, choking against the collar. Or it can choose to trot willingly alongside the cart, keeping the leash slack, moving in harmony with its direction. The destination is unchanged, the cart arrives where it must. But the experience for the dog, the quality of its journey, is utterly transformed. This is the profound choice laid before each of us every single day. We are all tethered to that cart, our health, our circumstances, the actions of others, the inevitable losses and surprises of life. These represent the cart's unwavering path. Our judgments, our acceptance, our inner consent, this is our gate. We can be dragged through our days by resentment and resistance, or we can learn to walk with purpose alongside our destiny. This willing alignment is the heart of amor fati, the love of one's fate. It is the decision to not merely accept what happens, but to embrace it, to see it as good because it is a necessary part of the whole. When a personal hardship strikes, a job loss, an illness, a betrayal, the natural reaction is to see it as a cruel interruption, a random punishment, a tear in the tapestry of the life we had planned. The Stoic, practicing amor fati, trains to see it differently. This hardship is not an error in the cosmic code. It is a precise, if mysterious, feature of the design. It is the specific material the universe has provided you at this exact moment to forge your character. The resistance you feel is the friction that smooths the stone. The weight you carry is what strengthens the muscle of your soul. This is not about pretending the pain does not exist. It is about changing its meaning. The loss becomes a lesson in detachment. The illness becomes a masterclass in patience and the fragility of the body. The betrayal becomes a test of your capacity for forgiveness and your understanding of human nature. By loving your fate, you disarm the event of its secondary suffering, the layer of anger, self-pity, and agonizing why me that so often compounds the original wound. You look at the knot in your thread of life, and instead of despairing, you trust that from the cosmic perspective, it contributes to the shadow that makes the brighter colors shine. This theological surrender is perhaps the most comforting Stoic preparation for sleep. It is the ultimate release of the illusion of control. You lay down the exhausting burden of needing the world to be different than it is. You acknowledge the cart's path, the unchangeable facts of your life as they stand in this quiet hour, and then with a conscious breath you choose to stop pulling against the leash. You let it go slack. You accept your place in the vast, intelligent chain of cause and effect, trusting that your journey, with all its bumps and turns, is unfolding as it must within a benevolent whole. In that trust lies a deep and profound quiet, the peace of no longer arguing with reality, which is the very essence of rest. The warmth of that cosmic trust still lingers in the air around you. Now, let this sense of connection carry you gently back through time to the very birthplace of these ideas. Find a comfortable position and allow your breathing to settle into a slow, natural rhythm. Feel the weight of your body fully supported, releasing any lingering tension with each exhale. We are going to take a short walk together, not through your neighborhood, but through the memory of a place where philosophy first learned to breathe. Picture the quality of light changing, becoming clearer, sharper, infused with the golden hue of a Mediterranean morning. You are standing on the edge of the Athenian agora. The ground beneath your sandals is hard-packed earth, worn smooth by countless footsteps. A gentle, dry warmth soaks into your shoulders from the sun overhead. The air carries a tapestry of sounds, the distant bleat of a goat from the hills, the rhythmic clang of a blacksmith's hammer from a nearby street, and above it all, a low, constant murmur. It is the sound of human minds at work, a buzzing cloud of debate and conversation. You begin to walk, drawn by that murmur. You pass stalls selling olives and woven cloth, citizens in simple tunics engaged in animated discussion. The sound grows clearer, resolving into distinct voices, one reasoned and steady, another passionate and questioning. Ahead you see a long, open colonnade, its roof supported by a row of simple columns. This is the Stoa Poikile, the painted porch. As you approach, your eyes are drawn to the famous murals adorning its inner wall. Vivid scenes of mythic battles unfold in pigment and plaster, depicting Athenians fighting Amazons, the heroes of Marathon, the sack of Troy. These are not mere decorations, they are stories of resilience, of civilization defending order against chaos, a visual echo of the inner battle the philosophers here describe. Beneath these epic scenes, small groups of people are gathered. Some stand, others sit on simple stone benches. In the center of one group, you see a man with a weathered, thoughtful face. He speaks with a calm authority, his hands moving gently to emphasize a point. This is Zeno of Citium. Beside him, a powerfully built man listens with intense concentration, his muscles hinting at his former work as a water carrier. This is Cleans, who would one day succeed Zeno as head of the school. And there, perhaps pacing slightly, is Chrysippus, whose brilliant mind would systemize their teachings into the sturdy framework we have explored. The atmosphere is not one of hushed reverence, but of lively, grounded inquiry. The debate is real, but the tone is respectful, a shared search for truth rather than a contest to win. You find an empty space on a sun-warmed bench at the edge of the group. You do not need to speak or be noticed. You simply sit, absorbing the atmosphere. The words themselves become a soothing background rhythm, the concepts of virtue, nature, and the logos floating on the warm air like dust motes in the sunlight. You feel the solidity of the stone beneath you, the dappled shade from the roof above. Here, in this humble public space, the most profound ideas are offered freely to anyone who wishes to listen. There is a profound tranquility in this, a democratization of peace. After a time, the discussion reaches a natural pause. Zeno turns his gaze from his students and his eyes meet yours. There is no surprise in his look, only a quiet recognition, as if he has been expecting you. He offers a small, knowing nod. Then, in a voice that is both gentle and firm, meant for your ears alone, he speaks a single, clear sentence of advice for your coming day. Listen to the words as they form in the space between you. They are simple, direct, and perfectly suited to the quiet battles you yourself will face. They are yours, hold them in your mind, do not analyze them or question them, just let them rest there, a gift from the porch to your present moment. Now let the visual scene around you gently fade. The painted battles soften into colors, then into light. The murmur of the agora recedes into a distant whisper. But the feeling of the sun on your skin, the solidity of the bench, and most importantly, those few words of advice remain with you in the quiet dark. Sit in this shared silence across the centuries for as long as you wish. Your inner citadel is not a lonely place. Its porch is always open, and the conversation never truly ends. The painted porch fades, but its quiet strength remains within you. Across the centuries, from Zeno's lost to Marcus's lonely tent, a single truth has echoed: you are the architect of your own peace. This is the enduring gift of the philosopher kings, a blueprint for an inner citadel. Its walls are built from the practical wisdom we have gathered, the nightly review that tidies the mind, the dichotomy of control that sorts worry from true responsibility, and the cosmic view that places our struggles within a vast, benevolent whole. This fortress is not made of stone, but of conscious choice. It does not make you unfeeling, it makes you unshakable, capable of feeling deeply without being swept away. Within its quiet courtyard, the storms of circumstance, the frustrations, the losses, the relentless noise of the world become mere weather outside. They may howl at the gates, but they cannot disturb the stillness you have built within. Tonight, as you rest, you are not leaving this strength behind. You are taking it with you into the realm of dreams. Carry a fragment of this ancient serenity into your waking life as well. Let it be the pause before a reaction, the deep breath in a moment of chaos, the gentle reminder of what is truly yours to command. In the spirit of that emperor on the frontier who found clarity by lamplight, we close with his morning meditation, a perfect book and to this journey of rest. He wrote, "When you arise in the morning, think of what a precious privilege it is to be alive, to breathe, to think, to enjoy, to love. May your sleep tonight be deep and restorative, filled with the quiet strength of the Stoics." And if you wish to join us for more journeys into history and rest, we welcome you to subscribe. For now, simply breathe and know that your citadel stands guard. Sleep well.